Hello. So I want to talk about some things that are going down in the U.S. House of Representatives right now. The House Committee on Energy and Commerce's Subcommittee on Energy and Power approved the Energy Tax Prevention Act of 2011 and recommended it favorably to a full committee. Now it's been moved on to the full committee for voting, and if it passes there, it moves on to the House. What this act is effectively it strips the EPA of its ability to regulate greenhouse gases, which was guaranteed to it under the Clean Air Act. So a quick rundown on the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm talking federal EPA, even though most states have their own EPA. This is the whole shebang. The EPA was created by Nixon in December of 1970, along with a whole other rule for environmental processes and policies. What makes the EPA different from most processes and policies is it's not industry specific, like the National Forest Service or National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which only have jurisdiction over their specific industry. The EPA was a very broad-based intervention when it was enacted. Part of the thing that's funny about it, it was enacted in a very Republican Congress, Senate. Nixon was in power. It is argued that just for that reason, because there was Republican presidents, the EPA and the Clean Water and Clean Air Act even passed. For the reason most things happen in politics, it wasn't because that party had suddenly had a whole change of view and decided, oh, maybe it is a good idea to clean up our planet. No, they were actually more worried about public outcry and their reputation, the party reputation, and support. Because, not like I was there, but from what I know, the 70s were a very pro-environmental time. But because these people weren't too keen on enacting this environmental legislation, they didn't really believe in it, they didn't want it happening, etc., etc. They were that if they waited until a Democrat or someone more empathetic to the environmental conscious was in power, that when the EPA was enacted, that it would be a lot more stringent and there'd be a lot more things they'd have to comply with. When the EPA was developed, it was developed very intentionally to be very inefficient and very fragmented and kind of slow, which is where now a lot of this controversy is erupting. The Energy Tax Prevention Act wants to take away the right of EPA to regulate greenhouse gases on stationary sources, things like factories and power plants. It was passed through the subcommittee, passed very strictly on party lines. Republicans are framing this legislation as it will stop job-killing regulations and help lower gas prices. They also accuse the EPA of overreaching with its regulatory power. The Democrats use a similar argument. They say that the legislation will actually promote jobs because it's going to promote more environmentally friendly practices, as opposed to exporting those jobs to other countries who are pushing towards more environmentally friendly practices. Democrats say that it will roll back reasonable EPA efforts to regulate greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. They also oppose the bill because it flies straight in the face of the scientific consensus of the day. You'd be very hard-pressed to find a scientist with legitimate knowledge of the topic, or even only minor knowledge of the topic, who will say that climate change is false. Because the fact is, it is happening, the Earth's temperatures are rising, and it's going to cause drastic effects that will negatively impact both wildlife and human health. Unfortunately though, that isn't really what politics is about. It doesn't matter what's fact, and it really doesn't matter what's science. But all really matters how politicians see the opinions of those who are voting for them and those who are lobbying. The role of science in environmental policy, and any policy for a matter, takes second tier to emotions and the status quo. Ultimately, most political changes occur when the people get really riled up, and the only way that a politician can hope to calm down its constituents is to appease them. Hopefully, politicians can get past these policy lines before some unfortunate extraneous event finally convinces people that there's a direct link between the negative effects of human health and climate change. The most effective way of cleaning up the planet is to cut off the emissions at their source, which means regulating companies that are releasing greenhouse gases into the air. We can't just sit here waiting for the big bad to come before we finally act. Alright, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll see me soon. Bye!